You Myron, bro? And he hits the. I think I like learned the dance at some point.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. What's up, guys? No, I cannot start my YouTube video like that. All right, welcome back, bro, to the channel. I'm here with David Banda. He is a startup entrepreneur. So he's started a few different businesses, and he is currently working on starting up a podcast, which is sick. I'll put his Instagram up here. So yeah, David, can you tell me a little bit about why you kind of got into the entrepreneurial world, just about yourself, like what kind of made you want to do that as opposed to just like doing the 9 to 5?
Let's start early on.
Okay.
So when I was younger, I was very, very good at science and math. And I thought I was very, very smart. And I was like, oh, I'll just get into STEM, be an engineer, do whatever. And then at some point, through actually my dad, I met this guy named Steve Gomez. They had a specific design for a door that went huge called True Style. And so I met him when I was like 14, 15. Super cool dude. And this was the first time I'd met someone who was an entrepreneur, like face to face. I was like, yo, this sounds awesome. And my dad would always talk really highly about him, like all the different companies he's worked on. And I was like, maybe that's something I want to do. So I was very young when I got that idea that I wanted to get into that. But continued along the normal path, doing STEM, what I was normally doing. And I struggled a little bit with like feeling like I could do things outside of my lane. And along with that, I struggled a little bit socially. So those two things combined in my head were like, oh, I can't be an entrepreneur. And so for a long time, I just went on college. Like if you read my bio for like a program I was in freshman year, it's like, oh, what's your dream? And I was like, oh, I want to be a software engineer at Google. And that was my dream. Yeah, it's because I'd given up on this idea. And I was like, oh, I'm not cut out for this. I don't have the character traits or the skills, any of these things. But through my time in university, I came into contact to quite a few good mentors who were big in the entrepreneurship space, different peers who were also working on different businesses. I ended up working at a startup my sophomore year of college and worked there for a year. And I really fell in love with the type of people I was meeting, the vision behind the company the company I was working at, the vision behind the company that someone else built, and kind of this gumption for living, that I felt a lot more from that camp of people than from, say, someone who's working a normal job.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of times, specifically with the entrepreneurial world, there's like this mindset that you have to be like this special person, or you have to be like super charismatic or super social, super extroverted. But the longer I kind of look into it and the more I'm interested in it myself, I kind of realize like that doesn't really play a big role. It's more kind of the discipline and the hard work and just being able to network and find people that can do those things. Because it's like you're not going to be like, sure, you might be the only one at first, but like eventually you're going to have other people, hopefully. You know? So it's like, you just got to build a team that can do that,
Mm-hmm. Like if you suck at selling.
Right.
Okay, can you get 5 customers? Get enough people in to where someone else is interested in it, and you bring on someone who's actually really good at selling. Right.
Exactly. So where did you like find that point where you're like, okay, I'm finding the confidence to know that I can actually do this. This is realistic. Like, this is what I want to do. Was that like a mentor? Was that someone that told you that, or did you find that in yourself?
Maybe a combination of both, because I met people who didn't seem to have that, idealized Instagram entrepreneur personality. Yeah. And we're still successful entrepreneurs. They came in all sorts of shapes and sizes.
Right.
And I saw that, and I was like, oh, interesting. And then partially was overcoming challenges myself in my own life, where I'm like, oh, I want to do this thing, and I set a goal, and then I hit the goal. And then I just continually kept doing that in different areas of my life. And I was like, oh, I'm actually good at holding myself accountable, at doing things that I said I was going to do. I'm okay at it. I'm not horrible at it. So if I can do that, then
Yeah, that's definitely where that discipline aspect comes in. Like, that's just so important. So how does that, I know you're a little bit of a hybrid athlete as well. How does that kind of play into this personality that you are? Like, is that something that your discipline side is like finds valuable, or like, why don't you just spend all your time doing like your business or whatever?
Yeah. So if you want to know how I got started into running, I used to only lift weights back in the day. I was only into bodybuilding, powerlifting, but I think it was January of 2023 or 2022, one of those 2 years. But looked at myself and I was like, yeah, I haven't done anything hard. You know what I really, really hate? Running. I was like, you know what? I'm going to run because it sucks.
Yeah.
And so I told myself that I was like, I'm gonna run a half marathon. I kept being like, oh, I'll start training later. And then I was like, okay, well, there's the Boulder Res half marathon. I'm gonna run it. If you don't train, that's your own fault. You're running it anyways. So I made myself do it no matter how much training I did. I ended up training a week and a half for it.
Jeez.
And then I ran a half marathon. And that was how I got started into running. Oh, it was so painful, dude. Very, very painful. It was really fun though, surprisingly. So like the entire time I was running it, it's like, why did I do this? Why am I running this? Why did I choose to do this? But then at the end, just the amount of endorphins and, oh, I did that really hard thing. I actually did that. It just was like, oh, I love this. I actually really do enjoy running.
Yeah.
And it's not even that I enjoy the actual running part. I just enjoy the end.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, sometimes you just got to do like something that's really hard or something that you hate, because like I've been listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson lately, and something he says is like doing something voluntarily that's really hard is like probably one of the best things you can do for yourself, because like not only is it discipline and hard work, but as a man, like there's gonna be days where you just like don't want to do anything, you know, where like you have to do something, but it's just like the last thing you want to do, and it's like you still gotta be able to do that, you know. You gotta wake up and just like perform, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's something that's really good.
No, yeah, dude. And people will go to the gym and lift weights, and they'll make all these videos of like, oh, it's so hard to, like, I'm doing this hard thing. But most of those people like lifting weights, right? Like, it's like you enjoy it. You like your time at the gym. You're not fighting demons, bench pressing like 135 on an incline, right? So like part of it was that where I was like, oh, I do enjoy the lifting weights part, but I want to do something that I actually think is difficult and I don't particularly like.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sweet. So yeah, we're gonna hit a little chest day today. I hit chest like 2 days ago, so this will be interesting. But yeah, we're gonna kind of continue to chat about this and hit some weights.
Awesome. Let's get into it.
What's like the number one advice that you would give to your younger self, or like to a younger guy who's trying to get either into like entrepreneurialism or just trying to like make kind of a path for themselves?
The hardest part about telling a young person what to follow is that all the conventional advice sucks. Like, follow your passions sounds cool in theory, but how do you know what your passion is? How do you find out what that is, right? And then when you're a young person, you also have so much potential that everything is kind of an option, and so you're paralyzed by all these choices. And so the only thing I could say that would be helpful would be to try out a whole lot of different things, right? Like,
Yeah.
you have no idea what you like. Okay, do something. Start onto something, do it for 3 months. Oh, you hate it now? Don't do that then. Now you've eliminated that from all of your options. So it's mostly playing the game of elimination.
Right.
And you can tell when you like something or you don't like something. That's easy to tell once you've been doing it for 3-6 months. You're like, oh, I hate this stuff, right? So yeah, try as many things as you can. Don't get too attached to one single thing, especially when you're young, because you get too attached to something, you end up in a path that you didn't really intend to follow all the way through. I mean, some people might be born with it and they're sitting there and they're 10 years old and they're like, oh, I'm gonna
be a firefighter.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a firefighter and all I want to do is save people from burning buildings. And they might know that and they just go and do that, right? Most of us aren't blessed that way.
Yeah. And
so I think the only way you actually end up finding out what that is when you find that one thing that you're so obsessed with that you can't stop talking about it. Like your friends tell you to shut up about it. You can't, like you just keep telling everyone, you're like, oh, I found out about this thing. And they're like, what are you talking about, dude? Like that thing you're so obsessed with, follow that thing. Whatever it may be. Maybe it's plants. Maybe it's like, I don't know, you like gymming.
Yeah.
Or whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be anything grand, like solving world hunger and curing cancer. I haven't done an incline bench in, what, 7-8 months now.
So how many times do you have to fail before you know that you either like that or you don't like that? Because I feel like failure is sometimes like you might really like something, but you just fail so many times, you're like, dang, maybe this isn't for me, and you're thinking about giving up.
Well, one of my mentors, David, he always talks about the obsession that founders have when they start a company. He gives an example of these two guys. One of them was named Isaac Saldana. Started a company called SendGrid, and essentially what they did was keep people's email out of inboxes, and that was the whole thing. And so these two guys, every company that they worked at, essentially they would implement this protocol to keep people's Gmail or email out of spam. And they're like, oh wait, we should start a business for this. We're like, we care so much about this. And then they interview at Techstars. The David and like the other guy who runs Techstars are looking at each other. They're like, I have no idea what they're talking about. And he's like, but they're so obsessed with it that they have to be onto something, right? And so that obsession is what ends up getting you through those dark days where you do want to quit. So a lot of times you might have those days on something you're working on. If you can't make it through, maybe you're not obsessed with it.
Right. Maybe that's not your thing.
Right.
Yeah. No, because I've definitely had things that I'm like, I think this is what I want to do, and then it's like it seems like cool, or it seems like there would be a cool reward at the end. But when it comes to days where it's like it gets hard, it's like I don't know if this is what I really want. Whereas like things I know I love, like weightlifting is one of them. Like it might be a really bad day, but it's like I'm still gonna hit the weights, like whether or not it's a good day or a bad way.
Like, do you ever think you'll stop lifting weights in your life?
Right. There's like, and so just trying to like figure out what that is, with other stuff too. Because
you're always gonna face hard things no matter what avenue you're pursuing. If you're doing a 9 to 5 and trying to get promoted, that's hard.
Right.
If you're trying to start a company, that's hard. You're trying to get really big and strong, that's hard.
Right.
And like you have to have something apart from an external outcome keeping you going through those dark days, because that's not going to be enough when it gets hard.
Yeah, it's so tough because it's like it's going to be hard either way. Like
everything's
going to be hard.
Pick
your hard.
You got to pick your hard. Everything's going to be hard no matter what you choose. Just choose the hard. Yeah, I think you learn a lot of small lessons that carry over when you're training yourself for whatever it may be. Like, if you're lifting weights, you're not going to get big after one workout. You're not going to gain any muscle, right? You look exactly the same. 2 workouts, 3 workouts, whatever. Nothing. No matter how hard you make that one workout, it will not make any difference onto you building muscle. The only thing that will is a bunch of workouts spread out over years, right?
Right.
So you can't go out and be like, oh, I'm gonna go build a business and it's gonna be successful in 3 months. I'm just gonna try so hard at it. It's like saying you're gonna go to the gym for a week and work out as hard as possible. You'll be jacked, right?
Right.
You can't do that.
That's what we want, David.
That's what we want. But eventually you learn that it comes really, really slowly.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with business. Is you just have to be there for the entire time until it goes up. And that might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's especially hard for me because I definitely am more of a sprinter than like a distance runner, so to say, and like goals and whatnot. So it's like I'm willing to like sprint as hard as I can towards like a goal, but then I need a break, So it's like
because who's gonna go fast with the tortoise or the hare, dude?
Right. So it's like, okay, well, if I know that, then I need to be able to sprint a little bit every day, So turn it into a marathon in the like sprint the marathon, but take breaks in between. You
No,
know?
yeah. But
So,
and if you do sprints, yeah, you have to be charitable to yourself and acknowledge that you're gonna need breaks.
right.
The only thing you never do is give up forever.
Let's go, David. Up. Up. Yes, sir. Come on. One more. Up. So what are you training for right now? Are you gonna run a marathon or?
Yeah. Running the San Francisco Marathon in July.
What does your training look like for that?
Pretty simple, dude. I follow the keep it simple, stupid method.
Yes, sir.
So it's usually just 3 to 4 runs a week. So you do one pretty long one, a medium one, and then a shorter recovery run. Then if I get a 4th day, and I'll hit another medium one that's a bit faster.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And then some weights kind of sprinkled through.
Yeah, and then weights, I'm on an upper lower split, so.
Nice. That's definitely doable. Like it's a lot, but it's doable.
Oh yeah. Like, yeah, as long as you have at least like an hour to train every day, you can do it all. Nice up. You got one more. Up, all you. Oh, you get another one? Let's go. Up. Up. You got it. Oh. It doesn't count if you do it with bad form.
That's true. Just elbows. Like...
I've seen people bench like that, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, man, just put the weight down a little bit. You'll get way more out of the movement.
Yeah. That's one thing about going to failure that's weird, because it's like there's definitely times where I know I can go a little bit further, but my form starts to break down.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, do I compromise form for like going to failure? Depends on how bad it gets, I guess.
It also depends on the exercise, dude. Like,
yeah, no, that's true.
with like a row,
Yeah, it's like
you can do partials all day.
Right.
As long as you're like keeping the partials strict,
Right.
you'll get a lot out of them.
Right.
If your partials look like that,
Mhm.
don't even do partials, dude.
Yo. Yeah, it's so tough on bench because like if you're gonna do partials, you're gonna end with the
Yeah.
the bar on your neck.
That's why a machine is good for going to failure on push
chest
stuff.
day, yeah.
Like you ever tried what's it called, the hammer strength machine, the incline one that's like that?
Mhm.
Well, that's one of my favorite
Yeah.
incline machines.
Those are
You can go so far, dude. To failure.
I love those.
Those are nice. We go all the way to failure on this one. The goal is 12, Josh.
All right.
Oh. Bro, I was just taking a little rest right there.
Just hold up. I was
Bro,
like,
I've pushed through like
I let
a
you
rep
struggle
like that
for a
before.
while. I was like,
Usually it takes like, it's like in your head, dude. You'll be stuck here for like 2 seconds and you'll be like, no, I will get, and you'll like finish it somehow. It happens occasionally, but it's like when you're in the all the way in.
yeah.
It's actually crazy how much of a difference how focused you are in a workout
Like mentally.
affects your performance.
Yeah.
Like if I'm not there, dude, mentally,
Yeah.
maybe hit 6 on this. I'm here all the way, like I might hit 12, 13.
Yeah. No,
Bro, it's like
crazy.
6, 7 rep
It's crazy.
difference off of just focus.
Yeah. Definitely like the mindset too, just like I have to get this
Or I die.
But
You're actually pretty good at keeping your form when it gets hard.
yeah,
You're
I
pretty
think
decent at it.
I instead of like just trying to crank more out, what I do is I just go slower, you know, to make it harder,
Yeah.
as opposed to just like
Like, slow down the negative.
right.
Oh,
that was close, dude.
nah, that's too hard, dude.
Have you ever done like
Oh,
pullovers? I've never.
I
done
love
those,
pullovers.
but
They're supposed to expand your. I don't know if that's true. It might be all bro science, but not your clavicles, your rib cage.
oh, really?
That's what the old school bodybuilders would do.
Get the
huge rib cage, yeah.
He's like
Yeah.
he's like 5'5", but he's just like the widest thing.
Bro, Franco Columbo is a legend.
What a legend. He's
I
like
miss
one of
him.
my favorite bodybuilders.
You know Steve Reeves?
Oh yeah, like the OG. Like,
Just like so aesthetic. Oh,
yeah, well he came up with like the golden rule or like the golden ratios.
yeah.
So it's like it's actually like a mathematical equation, like
It's like 1.61, right? Something like that.
something like that. Yeah. And
What is that called? The Fibonacci sequence.
Yep. And
Yeah.
he basically applied that to like bodybuilding, and then he just was like, I'm just gonna work out until I get to that point.
He did.
And he
Bro's
pretty much did,
insane.
Lightweight.
Oh, my Sam Sulik.
Yep. I know it's definitely the Sam Sulik approach, but hey, if it works,
Sam Sulik has such a soothing voice, dude.
he does. I think part of the reason people like him so much is because you can like, he's like the Bob Ross of weightlifting. Like you
He
can
is.
just like watch.
You don't even have to like weightlifting, and you can still watch Sam Sulik.
Right. It's so
Like the
funny.
content isn't the lifting; it's
Right.
just him talking.
And his Herculean breathing, like
See, I want to go home and have 3 packs of Fairlife. Bro,
Like-
the craziest thing is when you have the obliques just
The obliques,
perfectly lead into the
yeah.
serratus, into the lat.
yeah, it's insane.
Oh.
Like
Oh.
I don't know how you can get that lean without losing like all your muscle. Well,
There's ways.
There
it's
is
just
ways.
well, even if you're not juiced, it's just like to get to that level of leanness without losing all your muscle. It's so hard that most people aren't going to do it
yeah. It's insane.
because it's like you're threading the needle, right? Between
right.
continuing to lose fat
Yeah.
without absolutely putting yourself all the way into like I can't move
Yeah.
anymore because I'm not eating enough,
Right.
and like my body starts eating away all the muscle.
Yep.
You're threading that needle.
Yep. It's so tough.
And the gap only gets like smaller and smaller as you get leaner. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you're 20% body fat. You can lose fat so easily without
Right.
losing muscle, and then it just
The closer you get, and also too, the other thing is like your body is just so weak when you're that like lean. Like
yeah,
that's when like all the bodybuilders get injuries. Like C-Bone like tore his like bicep just posing because he was so lean. You know.
Yeah.
It's like your body just doesn't have the nutrients to
I
like,
know, dude. It's
do anything, and you're still pushing it just as hard.
no, yeah,
You're
your
like,
intensity has to stay up,
Yeah, you can't just stop lifting.
and you're doing like 2 hours of cardio
yeah, it's
on zero energy. Like most people that get that lean are like, yeah, I go to the gym, I do my cardio, and then I eat my food, and then I do nothing.
just like
I do nothing. I try to distract myself from the fact that I'm starving.
I think that's how you know, like when something is you're passionate about, or like you really want to be an entrepreneur, because like you'll just find ways to do it, you know, even if
Even
it's not
the
like,
ways that suck, bro, and you just get a tax write-off, and
Right.
that's it, because you lost money.
right, or like you hear about these entrepreneurs that are like crazy famous now, but like when they were kids, they would like fix and flip like toys or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
like it's just like that's how you know it's like, okay, this is actually something that I think it goes for anything.
To be
you know?
fair, though, there's some people who just might be like 25 and they're like, oh, now I know I want to be an entrepreneur.
Right,
And they've never done
That's
anything
true.
like
It goes
that.
both ways for sure.
I think the most cited dream career for teens right now is to be an internet influencer, actually. But that's in the U.S. If you go to China, they're like,
Yeah.
I want to be an astronaut. I want to do this, that.
I saw that.
Go to the U.S.
Yeah.
Most people are saying I want to be a YouTuber.
It's
I
rough.
want to be an influencer. I want to be this and that.
I just hate influencers so much. Looks at camera.
Oh God, dude, you're becoming the very thing you swore to destroy.
So how many like little businesses have you started that have
Let's
failed?
see.
Like even the small stuff, like what you were talking about.
I think I set up a drop shipping store at one time.
Oh, we've all been there.
We've
Or
all
at
set
least-
up a drop
or at
shipping
least had
store.
interest in trying to be there.
I set it up and did the whole thing that like some guy on YouTube told me to do. Did not work at all. Like drop shipping is interesting because it's like the barrier to entry is so low that anybody can do it, which also means almost every single person who does it is gonna fail at it, right? Like there are people who drop ship successfully and actually do make a lot of money, but they've put in hours and hours and years of doing that one thing to do it. Versus like, oh, I saw YouTube or tell me to set up a drop shipping store.
Like everything's gonna take work.
Mr. Beast, dude.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks he blew up overnight.
Yeah.
You know how many videos there are of him sitting in his room? Nah, dude, so I've done a drop shipping store. That was horrible.
Okay.
You ever done the print on demand stores? It's similar to drop shipping, but you basically make some designs, throw them on a t-shirt, and then like if anyone buys it, it'll get made and sent to them. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Went horribly as well. I set up an Instagram account for it. I got like 5 followers, and I was like, this is horrible. I don't want to do this. This sucks. We did our reselling business for a little bit. That one didn't go well. And then we built a software business.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably been the closest one, right, to getting somewhere.
No, yeah, the software business was the one we spent the most time on and we got the most traction on, and was the closest to being an actual business than the rest of them. And at a certain point, if we had just continued on the path, it would have been.
Right.
But then the question is again, are you obsessed with the problem?
Right.
Are you obsessed with the thing you're solving?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, my co-founder was like, oh, I want to go work on this other project. I don't think I can keep doing this same thing for the next 5-10 years. And then essentially I was left with the option of going all in on it by myself.
Yeah.
With the developers that we still had. And then just continuing to do it for the next few years until we got enough traction to get external funding. But I just found that I wasn't obsessed with the problem. Like there was other things that I was way more interested in that I wanted to start, like the podcast I'm working on right now. Like doesn't even feel like work.
So I think it's like you gotta get to a point where it's like you don't want to quit, but you gotta pivot, or like
Yeah.
So
because you don't quit
you're not
being an
quitting on
entrepreneur.
being an entrepreneur, right? You're like no. But at some point, it's like the ship's going down, and I gotta either get off or go down with it.
Yeah.
You know.
You pivot, you don't quit.
Right.
That's a good way to look at it.
Right.
Yeah, bro. And some people might say, oh, 13, 14 months down the drain building this business. The whole thing is like, it's not wasted. None of the time is wasted because you're the outcome of the work, right? You grow as a person, you learn different skills. You come out with way more experience than you would have had before those 14 months, right?
It might not go anywhere. You know, there's definitely a chance, like a good chance that like it just
You'll
doesn't
make
happen.
videos for like 150 videos
Yeah.
and none of them go
Yeah,
anywhere.
exactly. So I don't know. I guess it just got to see the long-term future. I need to get better about like making short-term goals for myself though, because I have like long-term goals and then it's like they might take 5 years to get to. So I need to have like some short-term wins, you know, that I can give myself some motivation. That's probably some advice that I would give to like my younger self. Like pick 1 or 2 things you really like and then just go all in on those.
Mine would be stop thinking so much, dude.
Yeah,
Just
and that's-
execution.
Yeah, and that's it.
The magic is all in the doing of the work.
Yeah, I think perfection is kind of the enemy of, what is it, that quote, perfection is the enemy of the good or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, especially with videos, most videos don't even get posted because people aren't like super proud of them, but it's like no one's going to watch them anyway, so just get it out there, you know?
Yeah. Don't let perfection stop you from making it good enough.
Yeah, it's like the power of now. Kind of just do it. Feels like crazy heavy. Ooh. I've been rewatching Rick and Morty a little bit,
Yeah.
and I love the jokes because half of them are like super deep, and then the other half are just like stupid jokes, and you just try to read into them, and then it's like no, like it's just a talking cat. Like, that's all there is to it. There's no deeper meaning. How do you like prevent your identity from becoming wrapped up in like your businesses so that like, because I know with me, like I'll get obsessed with something and then if it doesn't work out, I'm like mega bummed out. And so that's why like I have to either be like, okay, like my identity's in something higher, like either God or like my relationships, or it's like I just don't care as much, I guess, which is like weird to say, but it's like you have to care a lot, but not to the point where it's like you are that, you know?
Yeah. I think it's really hard to actually keep those two apart. Like what we actually want to do is separate the identity from the result of the venture, right? Like,
Right.
oh, not all of my self-confidence is based on this one thing succeeding in a way where like it succeeds in a worldly way, right? But I wouldn't spend too much time like contemplating separating those two because at a certain point doesn't matter if your identity is connected to it, you're gonna have to sit down and do the work, right? And you can get so caught up in all these small things like, oh, I don't want my identity to be caught up in the results, I don't want this and that. And sure, those are all going to be better, give you a healthier relationship with whatever the project is you're working on, whatever your passion is. But if ultimately you do want some kind of result from the thing you're doing, you're gonna have to sit down and do the work. And if you can't separate yourself from it, that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be an enlightened, separate from all my material and
Uh-huh.
worldly
Sure.
desires.
Right, because it's still gonna affect you to some
Yeah.
degree,
Like it's really, really hard to
no
do that.
matter what.
Like it takes so much awareness and such a different level of just
Yeah.
being separate from your desires.
Sure, I see what you're saying.
That's like a whole venture in itself. Like to even get to that point, that's gonna take you like 5 to 10 years of
Right. Yeah.
training yourself to separate yourself from your desires.
And I think the biggest thing off of that is just like overthinking, I guess. Like thinking, I think, at least for me, and I think for a lot of dudes too, is like once you start thinking about stuff, you just like like we're meant to think, but not too much, because like then you just don't want to do anything, you know? And so, especially in the mornings, like if I get up and I just start thinking about stuff, it's like no, I just need to get up and do. Like action needs to be kind of precede the thinking a little bit.
So I don't know if you ever heard of Naval Ravikant. He's a big writer slash. He's big on Twitter and he's a big entrepreneur guy. He was big in the venture capital space. And one of the things he always talks about is that it is easier to achieve your material desires than to get rid of them. Which basically he tells about a monk, a guy who becomes a Buddhist monk and gives up all his desires, and then he's like, oh, but what if it was better, blah 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 blah, like what if I had this thing, and he goes and does that, and so he's always has this feeling of like, oh,
right.
I don't know if this could have been better.
Yeah.
And there's another guy who's like,
yeah,
goes and does all the things, and he's like, oh, it didn't matter, I didn't want any of this anyways.
Right.
And so the Buddhist monk trying to get to that point where, oh, none of the desires mattered, gets to the same point as the other guy who's gets all the stuff and he's like, oh, none of it mattered.
Yeah, that's why I really like the Rocky approach, the Rocky Balboa approach, where it's like his thing is just give it your all, you know. Because at the end of the day, if you give it your all and you still don't get it, it's like, okay, well, I don't need to be ashamed about that because like I gave everything I had, you know. And it's like that in my mind is succeeding, you know. It's like what you had, you gave, you know.
If you gave it all,
yeah,
what's someone gonna tell you? You should have tried harder.
Exactly.
No, I tried everything I could. I did all of it.
Right.
All right. When they're pursuing something, is like, oh, why am I doing this? Like, is it a good intention? Is it because I want money, or is it because this is my passion, or is it because I want the approval of like my parents, right? And ultimately, it probably doesn't matter what the thing is that's driving you as long as it's that thing you actually want.
Right.
Because before you're actually somewhere along the lines of getting what you want, you're not going to get anywhere by sitting there thinking about what's driving you. What are you going to do? Change it? You can't do that.
Right.
Well, then go do it. Use whatever you have, whatever motivation, whatever fire you have underneath you. Get farther along on it, and you'll be in a better space to use a different fuel source, right?
Yeah. Right.
I'm going to look at the camera. I feel like
Stare straight into the camera.
look into their eyes, dude. I can't
Stare
do
into your
this.
soul.
I can't.
Yeah. Those suck. There you go.
This is. Oh.
Being happy is not optimal for gains.
Is being happy killing your gains? Is enjoying yourself killing your gains? Could be. I hope.
That's the thumbnail, right?
I'll hit the side pose, dude.
Just control your breathing when you get in. You gotta do it fast though.
Oh, you do?
Well, you should. Otherwise, it's gonna suck.
Why?
I mean, if you want it to be painful. Yeah. Control the breathing. Control the breathing. Yep. Yes, sir. Stoic.
Bro, I did this in a lake before at like 5 a.m. I think it was less cold but more awful. Oh, that's fun, dude. I need to get one of these. Oh, there you go. He's back. It's always like that, dude. It's the very beginning.